Hi, and welcome to the Science of the Good Life. I'm Louisa Jewell, and I'm so pleased to be here today with Dr. Jamie Gruman. Now, Jamie is a PhD in applied social psychology, and he specializes in organizational psychology. He's worked at the University of Windsor, the University of Toronto, and he's currently a professor of organizational behavior at the University of Guelph. He's published papers in some of the world's top management journals, and he has spoken and consulted for Fortune 500 corporations, public and nonprofit organizations such as General Motors, the Canadian federal government, and the Children's Wish Foundation. Jamie is also the chairman of the board for the Canadian Positive Psychology Association, and we're so thrilled to have him here today. Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
Well, it's great to have you. I'm so pleased that you're here today. And Jamie, when you spoke this year at the Canadian Positive Psychology Association conference, you discussed some of your latest research on how striving for happiness can actually make you less happy, which of course is very counterintuitive. So please tell us more about this research.
Sure. Right. So this study was conceived about a couple of years ago. I had this intuition. I was thinking about people that I know, friends of mine, who occasionally suffer from depression. And something struck me, or I had this idea, this intuition, that I thought one of the reasons that at least the people that I knew became depressed was that I thought they were sometimes a little bit too focused on being happy. And so I decided to do a study with a brilliant student named Rebecca Lee to test this out. And I thought if I could measure the degree to which people valued happiness, and I thought that I might see that the people who value happiness too much, or those who value happiness more so than average, might end up being less happy as a result. And so we set out to study this. We designed a study, and Rebecca, after we launched it, said, hey, there's this other paper. And so we found this one other paper. There's only one other paper that we had found that had looked at the same topic and had found results that were consistent with what we were hypothesizing. In the end, what we found was we developed a scale that taps into the degree to which people value happiness. We call it the need for happiness. And so we ask people things like, questions like, happiness is very important to me. I'm always thinking about whether I'm happy or not. If I'm not happy, I do things to make myself happier. So, to tap into the extent to which people are thinking about and acting in a way to make themselves happy. And what we found was we tapped cognitive, affective, and behavioral aspects of happiness. So we tapped into life satisfaction, we tapped into positive and negative affect, and we asked people about depression levels, which was what originally got me thinking about this. And sure enough, what we found was that the people who scored higher on our measure, and we went through all the steps necessary to validate the measure, and people who scored higher on the measure ended up having lower levels of life satisfaction, lower positive affect, higher negative affect, and higher levels of depression. So we confirmed our suspicion that the people who valued happiness more than average, the people who are on the higher end of the scale, ended up experiencing less happiness. Paradoxically, the people who were most interested in happiness experienced the least of it.
That's very, very interesting. So for people out there who, don't have this assessment, how would I know, for example, if I'm someone who really highly values happiness? Is it this constant questioning, or what do you think it is?
Well, I would think as the president of the CPPA, you're probably someone who probably values happiness somewhat. How would you know? I think you might know by reflecting on these sorts of questions. So, am I always asking myself if I'm happy? And if you are, I would say, based on this research and based on the little bit of other research that's been done in this area, and based on other research that's been done in other sort of corollary areas that feed into this, that's maybe problematic. So if somebody is constantly assessing how happy they are, I think part of the reason valuing happiness undermines happiness is because happiness is a wave that washes over you. It's something that happens incidentally by virtue of engaging in activities that you enjoy. And if you're constantly assessing how happy you are, then you're distracting yourself from enjoying the activity. I mean, there are a number of reasons that this, the mechanism by which this operates. But, if you're going to a concert and you're just enjoying the concert, then great. And you walk out of there and say, wow, that was a great concert. I'm really feeling, happy that I enjoyed that wonderful concert. Whereas if you're in the middle of the concert and you're thinking, okay, am I happy now? Is this concert working for me? You're undermining your experience of the concert, which is going to undermine how much happiness you're going to get out of it. So I think one way people can determine if they are on the wrong path is, are they constantly in indigo looking at the books on how to be happier? Are they constantly, at work and at home thinking to themselves, am I as happy as I can be right now? And if you're doing that sort of thing all the time, that's problematic, right? It's not normal to be happy all the time, right? A full, rich, wisdom-filled life involve periods of being upset and depressed and unhappy. And so if you're assessing yourself on occasion and realizing, okay, I have a rich life here, I'm up and I'm down, I'm normal, that's great. But if you're always thinking, okay, am I happy today? Am I happier than I was yesterday? That's a problem, right? You can't be
Yeah.
happy all the time.
I would think maybe even sometimes you're beating yourself up, so you say, geez, I'm at this concert. I should be happy. What's wrong with me?
Right.
Or, why is it today nothing's going wrong in my life? Why am I not happy today? Again, there must be something wrong with me, right? So I think that, that could possibly contribute as well, could it not?
Of course. And it's normal for life to have ups and downs, right? There's an old Buddhist saying, feel good, it'll change. Feel bad, it'll change. Everything changes, right? The only constant in the universe is change, as Plato said. And so, if you're at the concert and you're not happy with it, well, why? Maybe there are circumstances in your life that are leading you. Maybe you're stressed out at your job. Maybe your kids couldn't get into school, or there are reasons, and it's normal to not always be happy. Now, there's one thing I want to point out. In our study that we did a statistical analysis of the scale called a factor analysis. And what a factor analysis does is it looks to see how the questions on the scale clump together, and it tells you how many clumps you have. So in our study, in our scale, we had 3 clumps. And one of the reasons we put this scale together was because the one other scale that we knew of that existed, we didn't like it. We included those questions in our scale to see how it would clump, and we found 3 clumps. One of the clumps was made up of primarily, actually exclusively, items from that other scale that exists, and it didn't predict anything. So our intuition about those items, those questions not working, was validated. The other 2 clumps that emerged there was a clump that had to do with thinking about happiness. So am I always, as we've been talking about, am I always assessing how happy I am? How happy am I now relative to yesterday? So thoughts about happiness.
Okay.
And that cluster, that clump, that factor was the items that were negatively correlated with happiness, with positive affect, and positively associated with depression and negative affect. The other factor was behaviors towards happiness. So, do I engage in activities that make me happy, right? Do I spend time, do I find time to do the things that make me happy? That cluster, that factor, was positively associated with happiness, with subjective well-being, with positive affect, negatively associated with negative affect and depression. So this overall finding, and it was the overall finding that the scale is negatively associated with happiness, but it's qualified by this interaction between the 2 factors. So the takeaway message is thinking about happiness, not good for you. And we know from research on, for example, rumination and introspection, that thinking about these things, not good for you. But acting in a way that can make you happy, good for you. So the takeaway message is, if you want to be happier, and people who are watching this video because they're following you, because you do such wonderful work in positive psychology, want to live the best life possible, the message here is, don't think about happiness so much, but live your life in a way. Engage in the activities that will allow that wave to wash over you naturally, but don't assess whether it's happening or not. Just let it happen.
Right, right. So engage in those wonderful things that bring you positive emotions and greater meaning and purpose and great relationships and all those different pillars of happiness. And don't think about it. So almost like incorporating these habits into your daily life, really. And once they become habits, you're really not thinking about it anymore, are you?
Absolutely, you're not thinking about it. And this is really nothing new, right? Back in the 1800s, John Stuart Mill was writing about how people, happiness is important, but if people want to be happy, they have to not allow their minds to be fixed on happiness. They have to let it shift to other things. And so today we're finding evidence in favor of what John Stuart Mill was talking about, and finding that he was right, but we have to qualify what he was saying a little bit, because there are some ways in which focusing on happiness can work, but the overall picture is, as we've been saying, if you're overly focused on it, it undermines,
Definitely.
it doesn't make you live well.
Right. Fascinating. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jamie Gruman, for being here today and for sharing your wonderful research findings. I really look forward to seeing all the new research you're doing in this area because I think it's really interesting. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thanks for having me, Lou. Ciao.
Ciao.